Welcome back to another edition of You Ask, We Answer, where we take questions you asked us on the web and answer them in this video segment. The first one today is, has Google jumped the shark? It wasn't long ago everyone loved and praised every move. No, Google has not jumped the shark. What's happened is that Google has gotten much bigger. And before it was the little guy, everyone was rooting for Google because they had a fresh take on everything. They had a very simple user interface, whereas everyone else had a lot of clutter. And now they're getting into what's called feature creep, where they have kind of an answer to everything. It started with Gmail and Google Calendar, which are pretty successful, and then it got a little hairy, stuff like Google Checkout, which still hasn't really turned out that well, and Android, which seems to be doing okay, but we'll see in a couple years what happens there. And stuff like Google Buzz, which came out last week or the week before, and was basically a clone of a failed service called FriendFeed, but it had the advantage of being plugged into Gmail. So we'll see. I don't think Google has jumped the shark. They still do a lot of things very well. They're being highly disruptive, at least potentially, to Microsoft in many ways, and Apple in some ways. And they still do good stuff, and they're still making a ton of money. And as long as they continue to do that, they can do whatever they want. Some stuff like buying and selling energy, I don't know why they're necessarily getting into that, and especially the broadband thing, that's a little ridiculous. Google is going to invest a lot of money into a trial for broadband. But again, this isn't necessarily Google trying to get its feet into every market and become an internet service provider. Here it's just kind of experimenting with all the cash it has and trying to pressure real ISPs like AT&T and Comcast into getting their act together a little quicker. So basically, I don't think Google has jumped the shark. It seems like they're actually doing a decent job being focused, and they have the money to put in a lot of different places, so they're doing that. If they start to flail a little bit and do more, just some crazy stuff, well, maybe I'll change my mind, but for now I think they're in good shape. Next question, with the introduction of the new Microsoft mobile software, can Palm survive? It's going to be very interesting to see what happens over the next 2 years in the smartphone market. There's probably room for 2 or 3 winners. Among them could be Research in Motion, which makes the BlackBerry, Apple, which makes the iPhone, Google Android, maybe Microsoft, maybe Palm. Palm came out at CES 2009 with the fresh new WebOS and the Pre, and tech geeks loved it, but so far consumers have not really adopted it, and that leads us to the next question. Why does everyone think Palm is in trouble? Why do they have to beat Apple or Android in sales to win? Well, if you look at their macro sales, that's a big picture of their micro sales, and it's very important for on an individual customer basis for Palm to be able to win a purchase decision between Apple or Google. If someone is just going to if people are going to keep buying iPhones, it doesn't matter how nice Palm's platform is, it's just not going to win. And there's a lot of factors in here, how much developers are going to continue to invest in Palm apps, but consumers, that's at the end of the day, that's what matters, is for Palm to be able to take market share and sell phones profitably, and so far they have not been able to do either of those things. Next question, any idea when Yahoo will get its first payment from Microsoft? I don't think they've been explicit about this, but from Yahoo's last communication, it looks like they're going to try to get things set up with their Microsoft search deal by the end of this year, at least in the US. So I imagine that some money could change hands this year, if not next year. But it doesn't look like the whole thing is going to be fully integrated worldwide, at least until 2012. So still a ways off for that. US, probably by the end of this year, they said they might transition some advertisers over next year, depending on how things line up with the Christmas holidays. And what does the ad network landscape look like in 6 to 12 months is the next question. Ad networks we've seen are a real business. They're not going away. There was a ton of VC investment in a lot of different ad networks in the last several years. Obviously, the winners and losers will come out. There's going to be consolidation. Big companies will continue to snap up smaller companies or steal business from them. So definitely expect to see both big overarching ad networks with a lot of reach and also some specialized vertical ad networks where they specialize in something like travel or business or something like Federated Media, which we're a partner with, which kind of specializes in social media or what they say conversation. That kind of stuff will continue to exist. You may see some deals like AOL may get rid of ad.com, but in general, ad networks are not going away. They're a real business. Mobile ad networks are going to be interesting to watch too. Google, of course, has snapped one up recently, AdMob. Apple also bought one. It's still a very small market, but it's projected to grow a lot, so we'll see what happens there. Microsoft could be a buyer there, maybe Yahoo. And the last question is, how did porn apps slip into the App Store only to be taken down by Apple? Well, there weren't any actual porn apps in the App Store. There were no, nothing hardcore, but there were a lot of kind of wacky, silly stuff like jiggly apps and things where you could look at pictures of people in swimsuits and stuff like that. And at some point in the last week, Apple said to itself, look, if we are going to be, the Walmart of this industry, the huge Apple store, and parents are going to trust their kids to have their own iPhone or iPod Touch, we have to clean this up. So Apple made the decision to get rid of thousands of apps that may be considered kind of porn, and we've written about it quite a bit. Most recently, we've seen there is a double standard in play here. If you are a big media company like Sports Illustrated or Playboy, you're allowed to keep your kind of semi-nude apps in there while the indie developers have been completely booted out. So, you could say that's kind of a ridiculous double standard. In the end, it's Apple. They're going to do whatever they want. Even with pressure, it's going to be hard to change their mind. So that's what happened. There was never really actual porn in the App Store. Of course, you still can find it on your iPhone with the Safari web browser, but everyone knows that already. So thanks again. This has been another You Ask, We Answer. We'll see you next week.